listening to Final Frontier News.
Everybody, tonight we are going to go from being April 26th to April 27th within the next hour as we get into it about all kinds of things that are going on in the world right now and in space and secrets about space and devious Dave Rose. Dave Rose is frothing at the mouth to speak with us tonight about several things that we may not know about, many things that maybe probably the average person hasn't known about and does not know about. And also there's apparently some alien structures or possibly just some coincidental structures on Venus. Dave, how you doing tonight?
Thanks so much for having me here on Final Frontier News. It's a pleasure.
We talked a little bit more. We talked a lot actually before the show started, but we really didn't get into too many specifics, which I like that. In pretty much every format, every show I do, I probably need more structure, but I do like the idea of not knowing what we're getting into. There's something about that that's very curious to me. So let's start right off the bat with these structures real quick, because that's kind of the big tease, and we'll get more into it maybe later. But right now, you know, apparently these photos on Venus show structures. Are they just like many structures sometimes we see where it's interpretation of your view or what you're seeing or how your mind works? Or is there undeniable evidence? You know, some scientists and some people coming out, professional photo, editors and stuff like that, are all chiming in about, how this and that happens. But usually it takes a lot longer before that stuff comes out. Like, nobody has really debunked this yet, but over time, usually people do. And I'm surprised that I haven't heard anybody yet today come out and say, well, this is why you're seeing that. What do you gather from this, if anything, Dave?
Well, this story actually just broke yesterday, and you'll find a lot of different websites talking about this, but they're not really giving too much more information. What's established so far is that this information that these individuals are referring to is coming from the Magellan probe that went off to Venus in 1989. In 1990, most of that information that was retrieved by that probe was sent back to Earth and analyzed, and now it's being pushed forward by these certain individuals who are coming out and stating that there are certain artificial structures on Venus, and that these CGI images, if you want to call them that, are indicating this sort of thing. My analysis is that although it's a little early to tell, this is a little suspect from the get-go, and there's several different reasons to discuss in that. But first, I want to hear your opinion, Joe. What do you think about what we've heard so far about these artificial structures on Venus?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit too early to tell, because like the first part of me says, like, well, the fact that it's a news story is interesting, and then the photos that I've seen so far look very interesting, actually, the way they're set up and the way they're patterned. It's their patterns that gets me interested. So I would say that I have a high interest level in these, but I want to see what they're going to tell me. What are they going to say? What are those people in the government going to say to us? What are they going to come up with to either, cover this up or to actually debunk it? And usually it goes one of those ways, and there's nothing else really but that. To cover it up or to debunk it.
Now, you raise a great point there, because we saw the exact same thing with regards to the Mars face that was discovered initially in the 70s.
Right. And we got more info
later on, we had supposed updates and images stating, no, that was not a face, that was just the land structure, and this is our explanation. And therefore, you could take it one way or another. So we have seen, just as you've said, a sort of attempt to address these sorts of things after the fact.
Right, exactly. Like everybody goes off and gets excited and, oh man, there's a Martian there, or there's a structure that the aliens left for us. I think there's a lot of validity to alien structures being left for us in many other situations. Just perhaps not this one, but at the same time, perhaps not. There's also many situations where there's things left for us and it gets brushed under the rug and we never hear about it. But they couldn't wait to show us how that face was not really there, or perhaps how they could Photoshop that image of how it's not really there.
Very good point. Sometimes we see a very ambitious attempt to say, look, we told you that your crazy ideas were wrong. And when you see a quick attempt to address these sorts of things in such a manner, you do have to be skeptical, because why are you being so aggressive in the attempt to defend your stance? After all, NASA is an organization that has always promoted the idea that there could be life out there, and with the potential water on all these different planets in the solar system, that is a possibility. So why be so defensive when it comes to trying to disprove that perhaps there was life in the solar system at some point?
Well, with that being said, we mentioned earlier you had many things that you wanted to say, and that's what really sparked me. When I listen to somebody speak about what maybe they're passionate about, or what topic, or what we're going to go into, a lot of stuff sounds good. Like, okay, this sounds like a great idea. We could talk about this. We could do that. But when you brought up to me that topic of, the government, or space agency, or the cover-ups, or the what they don't want you to know type of stuff, that is what really intrigues me, because I hear it time and time again from certain different people over the years, and sometimes people that don't know each other, that don't even like the same things, and some of their stories kind of match up the same way or sound very similar, yet they never met each other. So I'm very curious to hear these things that you spoke of earlier, and put it in the words of what are we missing out on as far as discoveries on planets. It seems like we get all the information, but that's not true.
Well, it's definitely not true that we get all the information, but because clearly information is power, and those in power would prefer to keep it to themselves. But more importantly, we have to be pragmatic and be honest. If you were in power and you had knowledge of these sorts of things, you would clearly understand that you would not just let this known to the public, because it would probably create some sort of outrage or insanity, rioting. So you have to look at things in a balanced manner. But more importantly, what is it specifically that we're talking about? And it is things that could shake up the entire world. Gary McKinnon was an individual who, in 2002, was accused and attempted to be extradited to the United States for hacking into the United States military and finding information that showed that there was an off-world Navy, if you want to call it that. Essentially, off-world personnel transfers was information that he found. This was indicating a space fleet that existed in orbit of Earth that was independent of all other military organizations and governments. He found pictures of certain spaceships, and eventually the United States attempted to get him extradited from Britain into the United States because of his going into these servers, which apparently weren't very well defended. And eventually it was decided that the United States would not be allowed to have him extradited, and he is now living in Britain, still under harassment from the United States, who's not too happy that he was not allowed to be moved to the States. But he found information that was on official servers that indicated that certain vehicles existed, certain personnel existed that worked for an organization that was above all other space agencies and all other military agencies.
And these are like the Men in Black, basically, right? Or is this?
No, this is totally different. This is
really...
basically an organization that runs vehicles that supposedly don't exist. Vehicles that supposedly are tested in Area 51 or down in S4, which is also known as Dreamland. Vehicles that utilize technology that is either reverse engineered from downed alien ships, which is one theory, or they are utilizing ancient technology that's been available for a long time and known of, but until now we have not been able to catch up with the societies like the ancient Egyptians who were able to produce this sort of technology without the problems that we face today. So there's a couple of different ways of looking at this, but when you look at all the different cases and video and photographic evidence of triangular spacecraft, of circular and disk craft existing, being able to produce these sorts of amazing abilities, you understand that there's a technology that currently is not available to the mainstream society, to mankind, but exists and is available to those in the know, like those in Lockheed Skunk Works that have access to electrogravitic spacecraft that can basically utilize 0-point energy and go to beyond light speed when it comes to velocity.
Can you explain 0-point energy? Do we know exactly what does that do?
Sorry to get ahead of myself. 0-point energy, just to sum it up quickly, is a energy that exists throughout the entire universe and connects every single molecule, every single atom in existence. And there is infinite amount of this energy that is available. And if you can tap into it, just like Nikola Tesla did, you have the ability to produce devices that will run forever with no moving parts.
Right.
Now, that is a big reason why Nikola Tesla is erased from history books.
Right.
Because he had information that would have basically helped out humanity and would have not cost a thing. But because you could not put a value of money on that, just like Thomas Edison declared, you could not profit from it. And therefore, there was no reason to allow the common man to have access to this information.
It's so enraging. The more and more I have heard, read, or seen about Tesla, that this creativity, curiosity, scientific fact, discovery, and invention, and harnessing of our environment has been stifled away. But I guess my question is, why, after all these years, somewhere in the world or in different countries, have people not seemingly replicated or mainstreamed the thoughts, ideas, and inventions of Tesla?
Well, that's the funny thing, they have. But as soon as you make this information public, there's a very good chance that you're either going to be bought out
or go away
or forced out.
Right.
And this has been proven time and time again. There's been cars in Japan, for example, that have been designed and proven to run on seawater.
Yes. I've heard of that.
This has been shown on video. And as soon as you hear of this information and you see the actual evidence, it disappears,
right,
and you never hear from it again. Why? Because it's better have what we have now, which is false scarcity, which means you say that oil is going to run out, so it gets more and more expensive to produce, and therefore who makes the money? Those that not only produce the oil, but utilize that oil, whether it be in vehicles, whether it be in some other machinery. But those are the ones that benefit when you claim that certain resources are not renewable, oil is one of the many resources in the earth that actually gets reproduced by the earth, because the earth, being a living being, is able to do so. And oil will last way longer than the humans will, because it's not dinosaurs getting compressed into the earth and decomposing. It's a naturally occurring substance that exists within the earth.
Yeah. And with that existing in the earth, I mean, why wouldn't a government like the United States say, forget everybody else, we're gonna do what Tesla did, and we're gonna sell it somehow in our own country? But that's
because when you have false scarcity, when you have limited supposed resources available,
and once
people are more willing to fight against each other to try to control those resources rather than share them with everybody and truly have a utopian society like Star Trek, which could work if people actually put their minds to it. That sounds communistic if you want to think about it, but if people actually cared for their fellow man, we would drop money in a second and we would try to help each other and not worry about these resources and share them.
Right.
But because people are more concerned with material goods and the false scarcity that we think exists, people are always going to war in control of those resources. And that's the reason why governments would rather have people think that that's the reality rather than knowing that we could just drop it in a second and literally have a Star Trek society if we wanted.
Yeah, you're right. And that's what they don't want us to do. It seems like this is the way it is. It's all about big business and money and not communism, but capitalism always seems to get in the way. Capitalism becomes an evil. But once capitalism goes beyond the controls that exist for it, it's no longer capitalism. It's whether it be a monopoly, an oligopoly, it's basically controlled by few, by an elite. It's no longer controlled by the different diversity of the proper. It becomes a gang, really. It becomes a monopoly or a gang
but proper capitalism actually has competition. You have different companies that offer the same products that are competing against each other. The one that has the better product gets more money, but he's only going to get more money as long as he continues to have competition. That's proper capitalism. Once you move beyond that, where you have few businesses, for example, the media, six companies controlling the entire media that exists in the United States, that's not competition. That's essentially an oligopoly or a monopoly. If a duopoly, you can go into specific definitions, but it's no longer controlled by the free market. It's controlled by a specific few that want to define a certain agenda.
And the monopoly goes to Mr. Thomas Edison, right? I mean, he's really the one. I mean, you could put a villain on many different situations that have been stifled, whether by monopoly or whatever in the past. And nowadays it's much harder to put the villainous face on something. It's really just them or the establishment or the globalists or the there's many different names for them, and the agenda. There's all kinds of things like that. The authority, I guess.
The elite.
But the elite, yeah, the elite, the
That's
upper.
the best way to describe them. The ones that are not the common.
And Thomas Edison was the elite. He's the one who ruined.
He got an award by Adolf Hitler. He got one of the highest awards that a non-German could get prior to World War II, due to the views that he shared with Adolf Hitler. And he's been photographed with him having a nice, good handshake. So our dear friend Ford was quite the Nazi.
Well, and I also... the way you put that was great. I will say that I was, as we all were indoctrinated, I was as well. And although I didn't pay much, I was lucky though, because unlike most people, I didn't pay much attention in school. But when I got out of school, I did remember many things. And one thing that I really remembered, of course, was Thomas Edison. And the feeling I had when I thought of Thomas Edison was that of happiness and joy and creativity, and wow, what a man, and he created the light bulb. And then I as I read more into it, I started to be confused. And then it wasn't until, because as we know, I don't always do the best with books. But it wasn't until I saw a documentary on Nikola Tesla, maybe in 1999 or 2001, that I began thinking, this seems crazy, and then I saw more on Tesla. Then I actually forced myself to read certain publications and things that I never would have read, that were short, but enough information for me to become infuriated at what I had been taught in school. I felt like I had been lied to, and to be honest, it's not much different than being told about Santa Claus. The only different thing about Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and all those other things are that there's, for the most part, that's a fun sort of imaginative story. But with something that was real life and it impacted the progress of humans and put this guy in such a positive light, it's a flat out lie. It's a disgusting lie. And if you bring up Thomas Edison to most people and you gave him a multiple choice on a few different things, if you said, was Thomas Edison, was he a good guy? Most people would say, yeah. Did Thomas Edison invent the light bulb? Everybody's going to say, yeah. It was all these other things, and he's looked at in such a positive way, in a positive light, if you want to be punny about it, but he's really not. It's a scoundrel. He's a bully. He's a liar, and he's a detriment to human society. Yet one of the biggest detriments, really, and most obvious ones. But you still have to step aside from the teachings and the brainwashing that you had in school about him. I mean, there's your teacher, someone who's there to teach you and tell you the way of the world and what things are in the simplest of terms. Every year, Miss Anderson or whoever it is going to teach third grade the same way. Every single year, following the book. Here's lesson A. Here's the syllabus. Every year, it's the same thing. Maybe some things come and go, but for the most part, it's the same story.
No, Johnny, don't question what we said in the textbook. Don't question the hypocrisy that you might see here. You're going to accept a lesson as we give it, and you're never going to question what the authority tells you, which is the lessons that are currently being spoken in schools today.
And you know something, Dave? I want to say one more thing. Years ago, when people used to speak about things like this and say that the authority and the indoctrination, they'd throw out goofy words like that. You know what I used to think, Dave? I used to think, well, that guy's crazy. I was so closed-minded. I said, that guy's crazy. This guy's a conspiracy-crazed idiot. Thomas Edison, he doesn't like Thomas Edison. That's exactly what I would have said. I would have been like, I'm too ignorant for this now. I wouldn't even give it a second thought, even a quick second thought. If you brought up some of these facts to me years ago, it's taken so long punching the glass to break through. And at this point, I'm not even at the rabbit hole yet. You know what I mean? I'm not. And so that's why you're here tonight. And speaking of that, I think we covered Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla, but is there anything else as far as information about what he could have invented or what we could have nowadays had he not been
actually, this
smeared?
is the best part. If you really want to learn and know what exists, all you have to do is start looking at what the American Patent Office has available on file. Nikola Tesla, for example, actually developed a UFO, or more accurately, a flying disc based off the energy system that he recognized existed, which is zero-point energy. So he developed, again, a disc, a craft that was able to utilize this energy and essentially move in any direction, in any speed that it chose. And you have to, again, consider a disc. Look at all the different instances that exist in UFOs, in any sort of ufology that exists out there, and you see that the disc-shaped craft is quite consistent. This indicates basically an engineering advantage by having that sort of craft shape. So
Right.
when you see that around out there in photos, in stories, it has to be understood once you truly understand the physics of how these crafts work, that that's one of the best shapes utilized when it comes to having a craft of that nature.
Because you have infinite revolutions, or, you know.
Well, it just, the field that it generates when it comes to, it's an electrogravitic field that it generates, and there's different ways of doing so. But either way, you get a field that exists around that craft. That is how it's able to manipulate itself in how it moves and such.
Right.
So once you understand how that technology affects the craft, you understand how you can utilize it in that manner.
Yeah, that's pretty wild stuff. I mean, it really is.
And here's the best part about this. This isn't new.
Right.
If you want to look back in the 1930s, there was a couple of organizations that were well known for not only researching, but producing crafts that utilized these shapes and this technology.
Right.
The Vril Society, VRIL, the Vril Society, and the Tool Society, THULE, Tool Society. Both of them were absorbed by the Nazi SS organization, and they were able to continue that research under their funding and purview. And there's mountains of evidence that the Nazis were able to utilize this technology in creating their Foo Fighters, their Hanabu 1 through 4 crafts, their Vril crafts, and again, like I said, you want to look, you want to prove this right or wrong? Look at the patents. The patents actually exist in Germany, and you can actually pull these up on the internet. The actual patents exist for these crafts, and you can find them freely available on the internet. Even BMW developed a disc-shaped craft during the 1930s for Nazi Germany. You want to look it up? It's right there for you.
So that's wild stuff. It's wild news, and it's something we've heard about before. And a machine, I used to hear about a machine that would endlessly power through like magnetism, the spacecraft, and whether that was related to it or not. But the idea
Absolutely.
that if you can get a bolt of lightning to shoot instantly across and back and across, and just be able to just keep using its own energy to keep shooting it over and back and forth constantly, you would think there would be some way to harness that and generating electromagnetic field.
The best way to generate a field is to have a flowing energy circuit, essentially having a current going through some sort of circular shape or device. It's even better when you have a liquid metal that can be put in a electromagnetic field and forced to go in that direction. When you're able to do that, you can generate mountains of energy that can be utilized in any which way, and then is able to hook into this 0-point energy. This idea of flowing a metal in a electromagnetic field is not only something the Nazis have worked on, but so have the Americans and the Russians. And if you want to look up a device called the TR-3B, it is apparently one of these spacecraft that utilize this particular method of electrogravitic propulsion.
Why do you think that the Nazis always come up when it comes to this technology and things like that? I mean, like you said, America had some of this. Is it because they weren't afraid to experiment with these things, or was it because of the instability of their government that allowed it to be leaked out that they existed, where had America broken down, perhaps these would have leaked out even bigger from us. But because Germany was heavily into experimentation with this stuff, or had some kind of knowledge when they went crashing down, that's this sort of information became sort of known, where it wouldn't have had they had a stable government. Why do we know about, why do we know so much about these super weapons or ideas or, technology? Is it that far off of what America's doing? Or, you know what I mean? Because we're hearing so much out of Germany and the Nazi times. And the only thing that can correlate in my mind is the fact that the country basically came crashing down, and we found out about some of this stuff because of that. But if it never came crashing down, we would not know, other than civilian accounts.
Nazi Germany was probably at least 10 years ahead technology-wise when it came to the rest of the world. They already had knowledge of jet propulsion. They had knowledge of these disc-shaped crafts. They had knowledge of other technologies, tanks, for example. There's mountains of technologies they were just superior at, and they literally were 10 years ahead of the rest of the world, if not more. So the research that they put into, and the money that they put into disc-shaped craft was quite substantial, that they were able to get good results. But more importantly, the reason why the Nazis were able to get so far, and this is, probably something that's perfect for this topic, but many people might question, but you all just have to look at the information, is that the Nazis were hugely into the occult. They were hugely into ancient secrets of Teutonic legend, and attempted to revitalize that in their current society. So you did see a lot of secret societies that popped up that attempted to convene with these spirits that existed in an attempt to get this information. The Vril Society supposedly contacted beings in the Aldebaran system. And this is where it's getting really crazy now.
Yeah.
But apparently this system is at least, I think it's like 22 light years from Earth. They supposedly contacted beings from there who then supposedly told them how to create these Vril-based crafts. That's one of many stories that exist about the Nazis, or people that were eventually enveloped by the Nazis, that utilized these supposed seances, these communions with spirits or demons or aliens to get the technology to create these crafts. But that's the story you keep finding over and over again related to these disc-shaped Nazi crafts. And multiple Nazi crafts have been supposedly sighted not only in Brazil and Argentina, but throughout the Americas after the war.
Right.
And multiple witnesses stated that they saw Nazi symbols on these crafts, the Iron Cross, the swastika, and other writings on these crafts that essentially sort of indicated they were German crafts.
Well, that's pretty interesting stuff, and that's pretty wild, and that's it's actually kind of scary too, because it's just this is what they do. This is what they were willing to do over there. But what are we willing to do here? That's what I'm wondering. But you said they're ahead. But then I assume we reversed engineered these things, these weapons, and these this equipment and this knowledge. And we took a lot of their scientists. I know over here, a lot of German scientists came, to America or came here, and we had many of them coming before that. But where did they get this? Where did they get this knowledge from? Is this from just their hard work trying to beat everybody out to this technology, or did they get some sort of a tip off from
Well,
Why wouldn't?
like I said, there's not only a lot of witnesses and stories that indicate that they were attempting to do these communions and psychic connections with these entities that existed, but there's also stories of the Nazis recovering alien craft during the 30s and reverse engineering their information from that.
Maybe that's
So
what it was.
there's a lot of different stories that exist as to why the Nazis were able to acquire this information to build these crafts. But what can't be denied is that these crafts exist and have been photographed and witnessed countless times.
And what's concerning to me is more and more throughout the world, these stories of people who can travel to different places or times or that communicate or that time travel without physically going anywhere, or that speak with beings. They say that, and not that I believe any of these people or some of them, but one person will say, I've met this race and that race, and another person will say the same thing. Now, with the information of the internet nowadays, it's easy to kind of pull from what another person has said and build on it yourself. But the idea of reptilians trying to, sort of being the bad aliens, or the grays, sometimes kind of being the menacing aliens. And you wonder if somebody communicated with, and with the psychic power, with people who have, it's been proven, the psychic ability or the, I guess the predictions, not even Nostradamus, but like I'm talking about like just other individuals strongly predicting certain events that are just unbelievable. There's countless amounts of them. There's not just, you remember this guy, there's a bunch of them and different events and different things that are shocking. And when you think about all those people who could predict the future, or that claim to have communicated with people or with aliens, you wonder if Germany was working hard on that type of stuff and they had somebody. And maybe the whole reason they started was because maybe Hitler knew somebody or was part of something, and he found out this information. Maybe this is part of what made him so confident that they were going to be the superior race on the planet. And maybe nowadays not as many people would listen, but Hitler was listening, or maybe he had nothing to do with it. But either way, it's so interesting what the amount of phenomena that goes on with Hitler, with Germany and the Nazis at that time is off the pages. To be honest, it's not just talk. It's something.
And the funny thing is that all these different movies that supposedly paint the Nazis as fanatical occultists, like Indiana Jones, like what's that movie with the red guy who's
no, I can't think. I don't know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about. Either way,
okay.
It's not really fantasy. It's the Nazis were truly obsessed with the occult. They sent teams of people to Tibet.
Yeah.
And they analyzed these individuals genetically because they thought that the Nazis had a connection to the mythical city of Shangri-La that supposedly existed in the Himalayas. So the obsession that the Nazis had with the occult actually existed.
So they believe that that's where they were getting this information, probably, most likely, if they were spending this much time on them.
Absolutely. And they were in places in Europe, for example, like Chateau... God damn it, tonight my memory's not that working that well, but there was a lot of different places in Europe, a lot of different castles, a lot of different structures that they visited to attempt to get old relics that supposedly meant a lot to them. And that's how they were able, supposedly, to get a hold of the Sword of Longinus, which is, according to Christian Catholic myth, is the sword that a Roman centurion stabbed Jesus Christ while he was on the cross and was able to cure his blindness and yada, yada, yada. But supposedly the sword was recovered, put in an Austrian museum, and Hitler, once he annexed Austria, went to that museum, recovered this relic, this sword of Longinus, and from that point on, supposedly, had this power to begin this invasion of Europe,
Wow.
which is one of those things that just adds to the myth of the Nazis.
Wow. Dave, can you say Longinus one more time?
Longinus.
Thank you. I mean, that is it's wild, man. I wish we could go back and learn more.
But that's the thing. We're not arguing about this here on the show. We're not here to argue this. We're just presenting the facts. The Nazis actually believed this.
And they had plenty of, it seems like, proof to go on with it. It's the same thing if you talk about, you mentioned the Indiana Jones movie. But when I found out that movie was coming out and it was called The Crystal Skull, I looked up, I had already been obsessed with these crystal skulls anyway. So where did they come from? Why the main one, the Mitchell Hedge one? Why? How the heck was this thing engineered? You know what I mean? It's almost like that. Many of the things that we think about, there's so much to learn from the past. It seems like there's a past before the past that we know, where there was advanced civilizations on the planet. Whether it's
absolutely great point, and that's the thing that a lot of people continue to forget. How do you have all these different structures on the same meridians, on the same geographic lines on Earth that are pyramids in such a manner that they are constructed where it's impossible to reproduce them today? There was or at least several civilizations that existed prior to what we call prehistory, a time where supposedly we were in a bunch of caves, we didn't know shit, we couldn't write, all we were doing was fucking painting pictures on caves. There was a time where a lot of societies existed on Earth and were able to produce the structures that exist, which we can't do today. And it's from here where we get these existences of crystal skulls, for example, which you cannot produce currently with even our advanced technology.
That is one of the that's another big mystery. I mean that's another big question, mystery slash, lender to proof, or lender to that is the proof that something's up. Let's put it that way. We don't know exactly maybe what it is. You can't begin to predict or theorize, really, for the most part, what exactly was going on with these skulls.
One of the main rules of science is you must be able to reproduce some sort of evidence in a lab or some sort of reproduction. You have to reproduce the existence of an occurrence to attempt to verify
the validity,
what you're supposedly told.
Right.
We can't produce what it currently exists in Machu Picchu.
Right.
It's not, by the way, people, it's not Machu Picchu, it's Machu Picchu. Pichu means dick. So that's not the way you say it. You can't produce, that's truth. You can't produce what currently exists there. The stones that are so close together where you can't even get a razor blade through them, and it was done without any mortar. The same exists in the pyramids of Giza, Egypt. You can't do the same. And even in Cambodia, you have pyramids of the same style that, again, have rocks that are built so close together without mortar that you can't get a razor blade through them. This technology currently does not exist to reproduce these sorts of edifices and structures.
Right. It's just beyond. I don't understand how something like this, that has the validity of this structure, isn't talked about daily almost. I'm looking at a picture. I know that Mitchell Hedges' daughter was the one who apparently was the one who found it. It seems like, and I just see this photo of her with this skull, and you look at this skull, man, and it's crazy. You know, it really is. It's insane that this thing was discovered. I think this is more of an accurate photo of it. I don't know if this is a direct representation or if that's a made-up looking skull right there. I don't know, or if it's been polished up. But here's a photo of the actual skull here, and because it was missing its jaw, and of course the jaw comes off exactly like a human jaw would. Now, supposedly there's a certain amount of these skulls throughout buried around the earth to represent like an awakening or a new dawn or something like that of our society. And you know, why they were put here, why that is, I don't know. There's a lot of fake ones out there. There's a lot of ones that people have that don't match up to this one. So for that reason, it's like they say they have found 3 or 4 or whatever they found of these skulls. Where are the rest of them? And then the other ones don't really match up to this skull. The only it's almost like the stones in The Fifth Element, you know, looking for those. But the only thing was the aliens were in control of those in that movie. But this is real, and this is a real skull, and we can't figure it out. We're talking about Hewlett Packard, IBM. We're talking about just scientists, you know, actually experimenting on these things, trying to reconnect, reverse engineer what has happened, and you just can't do it. So there's either advanced technology that existed on Earth before we were here, or it's alien, or there's something to do with some sort of alien or alien life or alien warnings, or you know, there's something going on there. I mean, it's one of the two. It's only one of the two things. We either had technology that we far advanced to what we have now, which isn't that far-fetched, to be honest. If we've been wiped out however many times, think about, you know, all that we could be finding. And if they find it buried like that, it makes sense. All these underwater areas and underwater towns and cities and caves and Atlantis and who knows what. And we're finding these things. I'm going to take a phone call, Dave. It's final. Hey,
what's up, guys?
201, what's up?
I was telling you, I was going to post on Twitter about that creepy-ass story.
Which one? Oh, yes, last week.
You guys don't have to believe me about this, but I'm telling you, so I have to live with it, and I have witnesses.
What is
My
it?
house is haunted. I'm telling you now.
What's going on at your house?
So, we think it's a past owner. There's this guy who wears plaid shirt, ripped up jeans. He's pale in the face and he has white hair, and he walks around the house all night. And everybody in my family has seen him. When my grandma's over, she's seen him. My friends have seen him. I see him all the time. And, like, where, like, things will be on the table, they start shaking, he'll fly off.
What time what time of day does this usually happen, or any time?
Every time of the day. He's just always around. He's always there, always watching.
In the same room?
Across the whole house. Like, when my mom sleeps on the raft in the pool in the backyard, whenever she wakes up, he's standing over her.
Wow, that is wild.
I'll wake up sometimes in the middle of the night, and he'll be standing there watching me.
Have you tried to communicate with them?
I have, and I've had hello. I've gotten hello. I've gotten get away. And it's a deep, dark man voice. It sounds like he looks like he drowned.
How long have you lived in this house?
My parents have lived in this house close to 15 years. My mom has seen him every day. Me and her see her all the time.
For 15 years you've seen him?
Yes, ever since we moved in.
15 years ago. How old were you then?
I wasn't born yet.
So you've just grown.
I was born a few years later.
You've grown up with this.
Yes, and my mom knew I saw him, so I came up to her one day saying, "I see a man," and I described him perfectly to her. And we named him Richard because we don't know his name.
Hmm. And she never. That's wild. She ever brought anyone in the house, like you know what I mean, like, to cleanse the house or whatever?
We have brought one in, and she said there is something here, and she blessed the house, see if it was a demon or anything. He never left. He's always here.
Well, at least he's not. Doesn't sound like he's doing.
Wandered.
He doesn't do too much menacing stuff. What is Did they look up the history of the house and who owned it before?
Yes, I do actually have a photo of him when he was alive. I can send it over on Twitter if you want.
What the hell? Wow, that is. I mean, there you go. So you guys are already. Because I was going to say you must already be ahead of this whole thing. Like, you guys must know.
Yeah.
And she never said like she wasn't like we're gonna move, nothing. No, you're gonna stay there.
No, my dad sees it, but he doesn't believe it. He's like one of those people that doesn't know what to think.
Now,
So,
they don't know how he died, the previous owner or this guy, or he was.
We believe he drowned from the look at him. He's pale. It's like it looks like he drowned.
But there's got to be a record, right?
Is there water close to your house?
Yes, there is. Do you guys? We live in New Milford, New Jersey. We actually live over from town over from Hackensack, where Enzo and Cass were born.
Oh yeah.
But there's a huge river near us. It's called the Hackensack River, and it's right down the street. It's a few blocks down.
Right.
Or kind of like down the street. You take a street down, you're there. And when my parents were digging up a pool, there was actually this shed like under the ground, basically, that was half destroyed. So like if you go back like really far back, there was farmland around here.
That's crazy,
George
man.
Washington actually walked around like where my street is, because it's how back that's how far back my history goes.
I mean, there's a couple different theories here, and I'm sure Dave is going to be more. He's going to be very interested to talk about this because he mentioned it before the show, actually. But there's probably two different ideas of what could be going on here. The first thing is that this is some sort of imprint, but the fact that you said he acknowledged, you know what I mean, you is a little bit more concerning for him, I think, more than for you guys, because it sounds like he's not doing anything really menacing. He's just kind of hanging out. So it's more a problem for him, I think, than for you. It sounds like he really needs to move on in some way, or can't. Or this is just a very, very heavily. Usually, if it's an imprint that's left over, they don't.
Yeah, but
they
that's
can't.
the question, caller. Do you know whether the previous owners also encountered the individual?
We do not. Actually, the previous owners before us, he actually fought in World War II, and I have a bunch of his like World War II stuff because I've known him for a while. I haven't really talked to him. I really haven't talked to him in a long time. I really haven't mentioned it to him. I'm gonna be dead honest with you guys. But, like, let me just give you an example. I have friends over, and my friend woke up in the middle of the night saying, I feel like someone's watching me. And I looked over to him, like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Oh, God.
I never told anybody about this. There's other theory who he is. My mom doesn't know who her father is, too. And some people think it's him, but I really don't believe it is.
Yeah, she could just be like, oh, maybe it's my dad. You know, maybe it's my dad. But, to me, it sounds like more of you've got some kind of maybe a spirit there. Or maybe even like somebody, if they did, maybe somebody, died in the house. I would look up the history, and I can't believe maybe she has looked it up and she hasn't told you. But I mean, you would think in the 15 years you guys would know. So maybe she does know, and I would ask her or look it up because there's got to be something to do with this guy at some point in this. How old's the house?
The house is very old. There's been houses before this house. This plot of land, the whole street is very old. Like, it dates back to Revolutionary War time. Yeah.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's got to be, obviously, could have been the third or fourth owner back, 1880, 1890, or whatever. No doubt about it. So, to me, it's somebody who can't, there's something going on where there's a loop or can't move on because...
Before you hang up, I was that kid I was telling you I've been sick a lot.
Yeah, okay, How you doing?
And, I was just playing Black Ops 1. It's funny, the chat's talking about it while I'm playing it.
That's awesome.
But I'm actually still really sick, but ever since I've been sick, he's been very peaceful. And you guys were talking earlier about people who dream shit before it happens.
Yeah.
Me and my grandma, my whole dad's side of the family has this. Like, we'll have a dream of something that happens. I predicted my grandmother's death before it happened last year.
That is wild. You must have a... I mean, I was gonna say if you maybe if your friends, do your friends see him a lot, or do they have
yeah.
Okay. Well, because it could just be that might just be it's a separate thing for you then, because I was gonna say if you could hear see him, but then you also have these dreams, I was gonna say maybe you guys are perceiving him much more clearly than anybody else might. But if your friends are seeing him, then that's a different thing altogether. It just so happens that you have a high sensory for those things.
It sounds to me that you're moving into the house triggered his reappearance because he's clearly bonded to the house, and you're probably going to need something stronger than some sort of priest to actually get it unbound
Yeah.
from the
You want me
from the house
to send you a
itself.
photo of
Maybe
him?
it's not even his house. Maybe it's not this guy's. This guy didn't live there because he's not
But
hostile.
he's bound to it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Right now, this spirit is manifesting in that current location. So you have to at least get it to be removed from that location.
Do you guys want me to send a photo of him to you guys?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Send
why
me.
not?
Okay.
He sent it on Twitter.
Yeah, I'll put it on Twitter. Yeah, like I said, I've seen shit fly in front of me. Stuff get up and just throws like across the room, and we've seen it.
I don't know if you want to DM. I won't send it to anybody, but if you want to DM me the address, I'll search all over the place and try to find out something about it if you want it. But
Dude,
if
I'll gladly do that. I don't really care.
okay. I mean, I'm not gonna tell anybody, but I mean, if you do that, I'll look it up. Yeah, definitely. I'll look at the photo too. All right, I'm gonna let you go, man. But very interesting stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, love you guys.
All right. Well, I love you too.
Great call.
That was wild. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on there, to be honest. I don't know. You talk about. We'll talk about that later. I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about dreams. The great thing tonight, Dave, I think that has been that we've really gone from. You could really start to chapter this show, with different titles of chapters of topics, and that's a really good thing.
Absolutely.
But that's a wild one. See, to me, there's two different things. There's something haunting a house, or there's a spirit or entity that's in the house. But then there's also the idea of the imprint that's left over, or the perhaps parallel universe. There's three things. Then there's an entity, there's a ghost, there's someone's who's not leaving and going on to another dimension, or the afterlife, or whatever you want to call it, or wherever they're supposed to go. But then there's also the imprint of energy, positive or negative, in what form it takes. But then there's also the third thing, which is a parallel universe, or a crossing of a dimension, or things like that, where energy shifts or of that thing. So there's really three different possibilities. But the idea that he interacts with them in a seemingly peaceful manner makes me think it's more of the ghost spirit type of situation and not anything else. Because if he was in a parallel universe, or if it was an imprint left behind, they would not be interacting, I wouldn't believe. Dave?
That's an interesting theory.
Okay. I don't know if you will feel the same way. That's how I feel about it. I don't know if
imprints can still have a lot of interaction with their surroundings.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. If it's an extreme enough imprint, and you see this a lot in abandoned jails and sanitariums and stuff, there's a massive amount of activity that goes on. People will set up cameras and just leave them there overnight, and you'll see a massive amount of movement, things getting thrown around while there's no individuals there. The camera ends up getting thrown off its mount, and then just it goes offline. There's a lot of activity that's imprinted in certain structures, in certain locations, due to the extreme amount of psychic energy that's been disposed on them. And you can still find this regardless of whether or not a supposed spirit walks through those halls.
That's wild, man. I had no idea. I mean, I had my little theory there, but I didn't know it went that far. I'm looking at the photo, by the way. I don't know if anybody else has seen this photo. Let me see if I can pull it up. He sent me the photo. Let me see if this works. I'm trying to open. There it is. Okay. Anybody recognize the guy? Well, there it is. There's the photo. I'll put the photo up, and there he is. This is the guy, and that's a good-looking face. Oh, but that, you know what? That could be. This is hard for me to really date. The photo of him looks more like it's much sooner than I expected the photo to look. It looks more like I don't know what to say. Maybe it could be anywhere between 1910 to 1940 perhaps, but yeah, maybe it's 1910 more like. I expected a photo to look a little bit older, but Dave, you may see the photo come up in a minute if you're on the stream, and you can give me your idea of what that looks like. I don't see his full suit, but sort of that suit and how his hair is, it looks more.
Well, you can show me any old photo. If you don't show me the actual evidence of the occurrence happening, you're going off nothing.
Right.
So that's what I'm looking for. I want to see the evidence that you're supposedly referring to, not some old photo that you can pull up off Google.
Well, there's a picture anyhow. Take it for what that's worth. We'll see if there's anything at some point, if we ever find out what where he lives, what the hell's going on over there, because that's wild. All right, so we were speaking. I don't know what we were talking about before we got into ghosts and things like that, but we talked about those sort of the secrets in space, and that's sort of how we're going here, and these structures, and going back to these structures on Venus real quick before we move on to some more things. These buildings on Venus. Take this for what it's worth, because there's this guy on YouTube who's the one who found this stuff. Now they've recently published these photos of Venus. They look like they show huge cities, is what it says, and what we're looking at. Huge cities, artificial structures, all kinds of different other elements that well, I will say some people don't believe it is not a natural thing to the planet. And that's what we're kind of into tonight. You can see these photos on Google and everywhere now. If you type in, Venus structures, artificial structures found, Venus, they're starting to float around everywhere. Everyone's been kind of thinking about it. This guy on YouTube finally went on. He just decided to make videos on it and highlight these things with lights, with structures that just don't seem natural. But it's very easy to deceive the eyes in that matter of fact. If it's this close to being something, then really we want to start sending stuff to Venus to find out, like probably as soon as we can. Doc Holiday is on the phone. Doc, how you doing?
What's going on, Joe, Dave?
How you doing?
Doc.
So pretty much I had an issue with what Dave was saying earlier about the pyramids, how they can't be reconstructed today. Mm-hmm. And I just have a real hard time believing that because, okay, the pyramids were constructed at a time when no tools were available. Like, we're talking about guys with little picks and little fucking chisels and whatnot.
Well,
now
according to the mainstream,
I'll tell you
story.
Something. I want to tell you real quick. I want you to get to your point, Doc, that you have with Dave. But I want to tell you that a few years, 9 years ago, I used to work in an auto parts store, and a friend of mine's uncle was coming into the store to buy hitches and hinges, and I didn't know why he needed these hinges. And he said it had to do with part of the machine that they'd built. And then I was told something that I was told I could not repeat to anybody or tell anybody, and the only reason why I was being told is because they wanted me to film it. And I said, what the hell are you talking about? And they said, the pyramids, and you know how you move rocks? And they just said, we can't say, but we've found a way to lift objects that even weigh a ton using a certain, magnetism or something that they've discovered, and that they were testing these things in a certain site. And nobody knew about it except for a few people who'd gone in with this. And they wanted me to film it. But if I came to the site, I had to be blindfolded until I got to the site where I would then film it. And they asked me to do that because I was involved with one of the nieces it was one of her uncles. And he knew that I was into videoing and videography and editing and all that stuff, and he wanted the whole thing, edited well and documented in case. And he was really concerned that something was going to happen to them. And he wanted me to edit the tapes, get them to him, and delete everything that I had on it after I edited it. And that's basically almost what happened. And then I never heard of them. I don't know what they're up to now or where it went to or what happened. But if they were able to move those rocks using some sort of magnetism or some natural way that they had just discovered. Because that was under the impression, I said, where's all the machinery? Where's all the stuff? How are we going to move these boulders? You know, and they said there's not much that they need to do it. And I was never told after that what happened, because I actually broke up with her right after that. And after that, I was excommunicated from the whole thing. I would even ask her about it, and she would tell me, and this is someone I knew like really well, and she would tell me she wasn't able to tell me, and she didn't really know too much more anyway. And I became like furious about that. But anyway, that leads into perhaps there were other ways of these pyramids being built back then that we don't know about, but going on what we know right now. Anyway, continue with Dave.
So just to touch on what you were saying, Joe, I heard you tell this story before, and it's very interesting because when I was researching medieval stonemasons a few years back for a research paper, they actually tell this weird urban legend that the Masons had some kind of weird technique to where they would write some kind of symbol or sigil or whatever you want to call it on top of the stone, and it would make the stone weightless to where they can move it to wherever the hell they want.
Right.
So I'm thinking maybe the people you were in contact with were trying to find some modernized version of that. So to get back to my point with Dave, was the way, in my mind, this is how it went down, is the Pharaoh was sitting on top of his hill, and he was some kind of architect of some sort for that time era. And what he did was invent scaffoldings to where these dudes can climb the pyramid and make it higher and higher and higher, and and literally like lug these bricks up to the top and give it the shape that it has now. Okay. The tools they had back then were very, very primitive. We're talking about Flintstones type shit. So the tools and shit we have nowadays, I feel like modern Freemasons that do this shit for a living and literally get off on math and laying cornerstones and whatnot could put these pyramids together in their fucking sleep.
Sorry, that's I would let you continue, but no, what you're saying is absolute and utter bullshit, because not only has it been measured with lasers to prove the accuracy of the angle in Egypt, but also in Machu Picchu and other locations like Tiwanakan, Cambodia, many other places where the cuts into the rock are impossible to do with a chisel and a hammer. They are so perfectly cut that the only way, and professionals have come out and said this, is that the only way that these things could be cut is with some sort of diamond-tipped drill that would run at speeds that currently aren't used with our technology. Again, I'm not meaning disrespect, Doc, but with all the evidence that exists, not only from the pyramids, which have been proven to not be tombs for the pharaohs, at least the ones at Giza, which don't have any hieroglyphics inside them, and yet strangely have a structure that resonates at certain vibrations when you utilize sound. It becomes very clear that these ancient civilizations had knowledge of vibrational information, of sonic technologies that we currently are not aware of, technologies that allowed them to build structures that we, again, currently aren't able to do.
Okay, so just to humor you, if these ancient tribes had this crazy vibration technology you're talking about, where to go, like who was the hidden hand that said, oh, we can't have everybody knowing about this, and they just hid it and it just got lost over the years?
Worldwide cataclysm. This information, this knowledge existed prior and up to the time of the supposed sinking of Atlantis, which is a allegory to an event that happened worldwide that essentially saw the total destruction of that high civilization, where society was then reduced to a almost Stone Age state and had to rebuild from nothing.
like a lot of that I really take as hyperbole, like the whole Atlantis thing. I really believe that there was some kind of continent with civilization on it that just fell off into the ocean, like they say California is supposed to do. And legend does what it does, and it turned into this magical city of people that can breathe and have these technologies and stuff that nobody's ever found. Yet Hitler was raised to believe that was a thing.
I'm not sure how one relates to the other.
Well, like basically, if you go research Atlantis and what it is, it's basically everybody wants, like, okay, in a nutshell, everybody wants to agree that it was a city that was this great kingdom that had all this technology and all this wealth, and then somehow eventually it fell off into the ocean and was never found again.
But that's one of many legends that exist, not only from Atlantis, but also Lemuria or Mu, which
Oh,
again, there's a lot of different Aboriginal stories that indicate that these high societies lived in these regions which faced cataclysm at the last time that the earth experienced these massive changes. And again, the earth, if you want to look up Immanuel Velikovsky, and I very much encourage people in the chat to look it up if you're even interested, but Immanuel Velikovsky talked about earth changes that were due to recent cataclysms, not what mainstream society tells you about, oh, well, 450 million years ago, the Rockies shot up and were created. According to a lot of information that exists, you can actually find that these changes were a lot more recent than many think, and that our total history needs to be rewritten due to this actual empirical evidence that exists.
well, I believe a lot of these cataclysms you're talking about are basically natural events that happened over time that were just exaggerated by primitive people. Like I said, they've been saying that California is going to go in the ocean for the last 100 years. So
Yeah,
to me, that's Atlantis. It's
you're
a society
underestimating
that went
old
under the ocean.
societies. When the Bhagavad Gita tells you that there was crafts that were able to fly through the sky, like current day UFOs, and they describe how these technologies worked in their actual religious texts, you realize that there's more to this than what is currently in mainstream media, or society, if you want to call it that.
All you got to do
You
is
can't
look at
consider
examples of things
consider
we look at now.
old societies as being relics, because they speak a lot more truth than people might even think.
No, my point is these primitive cultures you're talking about had a real like fondness for exaggerating shit. A fine example was Santa Claus. Okay, the only reason Santa Claus exists is because a bunch of Norse pagans were fucking eating mushrooms out in the middle of the fucking winter and shit, and then they would hallucinate of a man flying across the sky in a red suit.
Well, we like presents.
No, there's
too,
more to the Santa story than just that.
We like presents.
Well, there's the variations where you got the annual gift man that fucking gives the good kids gifts and
But
and
when
takes
you
the
want to talk
bad
about
kids
world
away and all that shit.
cataclysm, every society has already indicated that an event like that has occurred. When you find that much consistency amongst different cultures throughout the planet, you realize that it was an actual event. And when you look at the actual geological evidence, it shows that, in fact, it occurred. Look, there's a book called Cataclysm, How the Earth Almost Died. I looked for that book for 10 years until I finally found it, because it's that rare. And this book is like 600, 700 pages long. I would say a fourth of it is fucking just like references and links and stuff to different fucking sources. And I've read that book 1.5 times now. I'm in the process of rereading it, and it's got a lot of information. But if you look at that information, it actually shows that this seems to be the actual evidence.
Doc, I appreciate the call, man. I thought you did a good job challenging perhaps Dave Rose on his opinions.
Yeah, great call. Great call.
And I am going to bring in Jesse. Jesse, I don't know if you've
Yeah,
heard.
yeah, he's like, yeah, he did it right. Fuck him.
Well, no, it's not.
No,
what
I didn't
meant.
say that. He made a good call,
You
made a
didn't-
good
no,
point.
well,
We
I'm
don't
reading between the
agree,
words.
but the good thing is that we're here to discuss these things in a logical and rational manner, and everyone deserves the opportunity to get their voice heard.
Otherwise, in other words, nice try, asshole.
Well,
Hey, shut up over your mouth.
I'm just glad he called. I thought it was funny.
Me too, because I got to fucking do a couple jokes. Good call.
I want everybody to know real quick, this is Final Frontier News on YouTube. I'm working on getting the channel's link properly set up. So thank you for subscribing
Great
if you're
picture,
new.
shit.
If you're new, please subscribe to the channel and click that like button. And also want to let you guys know that we are on iTunes. So Final Frontier News is on iTunes. So if you want to listen on a podcast version of this, please go to our iTunes page. And I really am asking you, when we're done here tonight, if you can go on iTunes, if you have iTunes, or wherever you go, Podbean, the show is on Podbean. Look for it on podbean.com. So if you don't have iTunes, go to Podbean. Maybe give it a play and a review or whatever it is. And especially a review on iTunes, if you guys can do that, that will help out the show immensely, especially in the podcast format. So thank you for that. Jesse, I don't know how much you heard, but I
didn't hear anything, actually.
Well, then you're coming in clean then. You're coming in clean. Jesse, one of the things we spoke about Tesla earlier and being stifled by Edison and the government and the elite, I guess it would be. But I want to hear more of what Dave's ideas. Dave, some of those things you were kind of alluding to earlier, that if you were to speak them, feel free to run on some of that, and I'm curious as to maybe what Jesse's response to that will be.
Well, I'm sure that Jesse's already, quite familiar with the fact that Nikola Tesla was able to create technologies that utilize zero-point energy that had basically no moving parts, but were built of very simple devices and were able to power cars, electrical generators, and many other different devices. And even energy transmitters that would have been able to power a whole city based on zero-point energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that you're quite aware of that. But there's also the fact that Thomas Edison moved in and sabotaged him and destroyed the man in several different ways to try to ensure that his technology didn't get out.
Maybe Edison was an alien and he was working with the reptilians
Well, it's I don't know. There's good and evil in the world, right? Like there's always opportunity for both. So why give it away for free when you can charge for it? And that's what Edison did.
Well,
that's exactly what we talked about.
And I think there's a difference to that, though. I think that for say for us to do a podcast and charge people for it, that's kind of our choice, and it's a podcast, so it's something creative. But this is actually something that altered, mankind's history and altered the way our whole world operates. It's a little.
You're talking about something that's like, yeah, I see what you're saying, but this is, it's almost one of the most important things that it really is actually one of the most important things that ever happened, because we're doing things nowadays that they act like fucking all this shit.
We still have wooden
solar
poles.
Energy and shit.
We have wooden poles sticking out of the ground with electrical wires from mile to mile of electrical wire.
And they usually connect to these locations that have nuclear waste that will continue for millions of years to produce radiation that is a detriment to us human beings.
Right. And if these things all go, basically the whole entire Earth is a gigantic booby trap at this point. The way we have it set up, it's a booby trap. If something hits us the wrong way, stuff's going to melt down and blow up. It's a booby trap.
Look what's happened in Fukushima.
Right. We've booby trapped ourselves, especially when it comes to space, foreign objects, or earthquakes.
97% of the bluefin tuna in the Pacific has died, strangely.
Right.
But if you look at the information, it seems to be that Fukushima, that continues to leach out radiation at a immense rate,
Right.
is responsible for all the deaths in the Pacific Ocean.
It's a very scary situation, and it's all created, and it's all goes back to, it's almost a nightmare, to be honest. If you had a movie or a story, and it's almost like in that story, in that movie, in that nightmare, you go back in time, and the hero would have knocked out Thomas Edison, and would have helped Nikola Tesla, and we would all be, the world would be so much different right now. And you wouldn't have that pollution. You wouldn't.
Hey, Joe, I have something for. Oh shit, I'm sorry.
You wouldn't be drilling for oil, so there would be so much less detriment to the earth. Yes, Jesse. Though.
Oh no, I'm gonna send you something, and it might be interesting. I don't know if it's gonna correlate exactly with.
We've kind of jumped around a bit tonight, which is good with me.
Oh, then it'll fit right in then, because it's interesting. It goes right into kind of just like anything we'd bring up here. I'm sending it to you in the little group chat we have.
Okay.
It just goes into the different cycles and gamma, beta, alpha, theta, and delta waves and shit. And it goes into, it's just a little thing I just saw, and I was like, whoa, that's interesting.
All I see is Justin Bailey's photo of that woman's bra.
I just sent it. It says you saw it.
I see this. This is great. What he's sending me is brainwaves. So yeah, you see the gamma rays, the beta waves, the alpha, the theta. The
you have
delta.
no video. I forgot this is an audio only. My bad. Then it does no good.
Oh, I got you.
I thought it was like, you could put it up on the screen, but then I forgot. My bad.
Well, that's okay. I mean, what was the point in sending it though? What are you getting at here?
I don't know, because people might have been interested to see I don't know. It's just like, it's just there in a picture. I don't know.
It is wild how your brain works and the brain waves and spectrographs and I used to look at the waveform monitors and the light beams and stuff when I would do the TV production. Even that would intrigue me about the wave.
We're actually, you guys were talking about, I don't know, electricity, but I mean, you can go into I don't know, Wi-Fi and all kinds of electrical stuff that we use.
I mean, that's
including
another
how it
thing.
affects all these brainwaves as well,
Well, that's another thing we should have is Wi-Fi everywhere. Anyway, we just shouldn't be wired anymore at all, and we should be, and not the Wi-Fi where my phone won't connect, so I'll just plug it in wired. No, we should be able to be. We're powerful enough that we don't need them wired, but we just don't get there. Efficiency and money wise, but
because you got to charge for the wire. That's one less thing you can charge people for. I mean, everything comes down to money.
Well, they can charge for the. I think they can charge for the Wi-Fi or a stronger Wi-Fi. We just don't.
No, I'm with Jesse. Wi-Fi is bad, and any sort of frequency that's non-natural is a bad thing, especially when you're being inundated with that from all directions.
Oh yeah. No, the effects on your brain. I'm speaking of the effects of technology, but the effects on.
I see. I knew where you were coming from. It's there's two sides to it, which makes it even more
on our bodies. On our bodies.
Of course, technology can make it very rapid, but the thing is, currently the FCA in the States, which seems to lead the world in decisions like this, has decided that they're inching towards higher frequencies, but the very high frequencies that are used to, for example, communicate with satellites in orbit, if you put a human in front of that, you're going to fry yourself. But as it slowly creeps forward, higher and higher frequencies are being allowed to be beamed onto you, and they're going to fucking affect you and your health. It's fucking proven.
And we're all walking around with them. The phones, the 3G. I mean, every second, think about it.
And do you guys see all the cell towers that are popping up? At least here in Canada, you start to see them in abundance, and they're not even. And it's funny because and this is disgusting too. In certain national and provincial parks here in Canada, they've actually started to be disguised as trees, and they've actually got fake foliage on them to make them look like trees, but they're in the national or provincial park. But for these faggots, so that they can fucking have
Jesus.
And that's not. I'm not referring to gay people. I'm just talking about fucking idiots.
Oh,
I thought it was bad the way I opened
That's why I'm
Wow.
using that word, because it doesn't belong to gay people.
No, it's fun. No, I get what you're saying. It's kind of I've
Cigars.
seen those tree things, and not only do they look bad, it's just I don't understand. It's
But
like
why do you want to have a fucking phone when you're camping? That
Well,
shouldn't
Right.
even be in a national or a provincial park.
I'll tell you, man. It's because they want to be able to reach. Probably want to be able to reach you no matter where you are. Well, they want to send a
they should
signal
have
out.
landline. I mean, I do agree with having something out in the middle of nowhere, like, but have landlines. You know, have a call box. You know, you don't have to have Wi-Fi everywhere.
If they, if they want to send signals out to us and fuck us up, I mean that's the way you got to have something everywhere.
Well, yeah, if they want to, yeah.
You're inundated with your cell phone going through 4G, 3G up into a satellite dish and back to you in your head. And then
pretty
you're beaming around Wi-Fi all over the place at your house, which is even more probably unstable and direct.
It's all the stuff that's around us right now is not like, as we're doing the show, isn't so good. But
I used to install satellite dishes, and I'll never forget they would be very concerned about us. Like, yeah, just make sure you don't put your hand in front of the thing, and the LNB would face this way. It just you're beaming this in your head.
You know what's
your cell
funny?
phone.
What actually deflects a lot of these signals and frequencies is a tinfoil hat.
Yes,
So isn't that funny that
That's
something
funny.
that people
it is true.
that point scorn at and say,
Yeah.
"Oh, tinfoil hat," and then you look at the science behind it and you say, "Hold on, well, this
Yeah.
actually works."
There's actually people walking around. I'm
and
telling
you
you.
question, well, why is it that people are ridiculing it
You're
if
right.
it actually works?
Well, because
Who benefits from doing this?
there are people, I'm sure, Dave, in their houses right now, walking around with a hat. I'm not even joking. Like they're walking around with a tinfoil hat on all day.
Well, I'm sure it happens too, but
Oh,
when you see the mainstream media trying to make that sound like something that's crazy, that
Yeah.
it does look like it's crazy, but when you look at the science as to what it does and you see that actually it's helpful,
yeah, exactly.
well, then you question, well, who's right and who's wrong?
No, you're absolutely correct. It's
Well, a
going
lot
to
of people
bounce
think,
all
like,
that energy off.
That's the way some people think about meditation and all these things too. They don't anything that's Eastern based philosophy
what, Dave?
or West Eastern medicine.
Guys, here's what we do. Let's come out with baseball caps made out of tinfoil. Like, I mean, somehow, and I'm not even joking, like, because then it would be accepted. In fact, it may be the newest, coolest thing to do. And you wear the hat backwards, and you put the cell phone in your ear, and it blocks as much as it can up there. But maybe it won't. But no, that's the scary part. Is you're right. They've indoctrinated everybody and made you feel stupid for doing something that could be smart. They've convinced us that Thomas Edison was a beautiful man, a great man in school.
Dude, the Reynolds Wrap tinfoil benefits from this.
Reynolds-
Doc Hollywood.
Yeah,
politics
we're Reynolds. We'll take a quick break. Brought to you by Reynolds Wrap. And watch the stock go up as Final Frontier News and Joe, Jesse, and Dave all expose the truth about Reynolds Wrap and how it can help us and save our lives. I just put the wrap over my private parts just to keep them going. If something else happens, whatever. But I don't want to lose my privates due to Wi-Fi signals. And if you wonder about how Wi-Fi signals affect things, I mean, if I turn on multiple Wi-Fi devices in the house, sometimes they cross over and disrupt each other in a way they're not supposed to at all. So what is going on in my air, in my house right now? Who knows? I don't even want to know. I'm going to be ignorant to that, but I should be scared. But, who knows what the way things are going. We're coming to something soon. I think there is something going on soon here, and we're going to, we've really touched on a lot of different things here, but and I know you guys aren't as big into this, and Jesse, you may not be, of course, as well, but what you have to understand is, and I'm not saying I know exactly what's going on, but it's very convenient. You get the Planet X, the Nibiru talk. Then all of a sudden we take Pluto away. We decide Pluto's not a planet anymore, and now people call it Planet 9 because it can't be Planet 10 anymore because there's 8 planets. So.
okay, there you go. There's that fucking sorry.
It's a misinformation and confusion. You've changed the name.
It's also the that right brain thinking or whichever side it is, the one that's all analytical and very structured because it's like, well, it has to have it can't be planet 10, it's planet 9, of course. It has to be, everything has to be just so. And it's like, well, no, it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not looking at it that way. I'm looking at, you're right, how the brains of many of the civilians would look at it. Like, if you were to try to get information on planet 10 now, all of a sudden you're going to hear planet 9, and you're going to be like, planet 9 and 10 and Nibiru, and I don't get it, and I give up. You know what I mean?
It's cool because they're, we're trying to explore new things. It's just, I don't know. I think people immediately try and put hype on something to try and sell a bunch of books too.
I think there is one thing about it though, where it's like they've pretty much found this thing. They're at the edge of our universe on this elliptical orbit. All these years, Jesse, of me hearing about the planet X and me thinking this thing isn't real. This isn't coming, or whatever. This is crazy. And then just so many people believing it and saying, I know it, and things. And like me just thinking, I don't really, how could you? But now you have these scientists and everybody saying, we pretty much know something's there. And now we're trying to figure out how we can get a good eye on it.
I just don't know anything about it, but like based on what you just told me, that doesn't sound too far-fetched to me that only a select few people know and understand or get a gut feeling about something, and and it's only proven later. I mean, that's kind of, I don't know, intuition's crazy, man.
And it leads into us talking about the skulls, and they say the skulls are hidden, so there's going to be a big awakening, and the skulls are going to do something when this happens and try to guide
Well, there's
us.
definitely a big awakening, but everyone seems to have a different reason for why that is, and see, that's why I don't really.
But even the skulls, Jesse, the Mitchell Hedges skull. I mean, we couldn't have made this skull. We don't have the technology for this. How did it get made? They can't figure out how this damn thing was made, and where did it come from? And it's like that right there tells me something is up about our past, at least, whether it's aliens or whatever. But at least our past there's some kind of advancement that we don't know about. And if there is, and you find dinosaur bones and you find other bones, but we haven't really found other sort of humanoid bones, but we found these skulls. So it's like, what was here? And if this planet is on this elliptical orbit, and every 3,600 years, every 20,000 years, every whatever the hell, there's a bunch of different numbers that are being thrown out there. When it comes around, it flips the poles, and the Earth kind of 95% of everybody here goes away, and starts over again. You wonder if that pattern hasn't repeated itself, every 5,000 so or whatever years they say it is, and we're stuck on this loop where when will the generation find? And I'm not saying this is true, but when will the generation find out that this planet's going to swing around every time and flip the poles and flip the.
What I'm tripping on is why everyone even gives a shit.
Well,
like why it's because
because
does it freak people out that we're not the only planet out there?
Well, no, Jesse,
we're part of a big freaking bunch of stuff going on.
No, I mean it freaks people out because you could look up at the sky and see a planet coming one day, and all of a sudden the poles flip.
That to me that's all right. I mean, that's the most, I think probably the calmest I'd ever feel would be to see that, because it's just what's going on.
I think it's the idea that most people feel the need to
prevent it.
Prevent it, yeah, to move on. We want everything we did to be erased. We want to move forward. You know what I mean? In a way, and even as disgusting and weird as the Earth and the humans here are.
So we just destroy the Earth and then leave it, huh? I'm saying like that's what it sounds like we're trying to do.
Well, no, what you would do, I would think what you would do is leave the Earth, go somewhere, and then we would come back, when it had settled. We get out of here and maybe that has happened before. You know what I'm saying? Maybe there, years and thousands and whatever years ago, an advanced group of people on Earth, we were advanced here, even more advanced than we are now, and they left the planet. And they're the ones who have come back to see the progress of, is there anything left? And then they found out, oh my goodness, there's humanoid people still here again. And now they know, that this process repeats. That whole idea is very enticing to think about.
No, I understand. Honestly, I don't know what the fuck. I don't think everything is as finite as everyone. I mean, I'm who knows? Maybe these planets can form within like almost like
Out of nowhere.
illusionary bases. Like they're there and then they're not. I don't
Maybe
know.
it's another dimension.
Neptune, for instance, has a spot on it. I forget if it's black or whatever it is. It disappears every now and again, and then it comes and then it goes.
Yeah.
And there's no predicting it, which is probably why fucking Pisces are all fucked up all the time. But it's mood swings or something, you know. But it's interesting because it's just like, wow, it's like illusion. One minute it's there, the next minute it's not, depending on whenever it wants. Apparently, maybe it's even a trick of the light when it's being beamed, you know, maybe directed off another planet or something. I don't think so. I think it was just like literally whenever it wants to, it shows up. So maybe, you know, we
It's not
think
like-
that. We think, you know, there's been the same planets there for years and years. Everyone knows this. Da 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 da. Well, what if things start happening so quickly and when things change, it flips people out. Like, why do things aren't going to stay finite? I don't know. It doesn't flip me out that there's other planets out there and that they're. I don't know. I just don't understand.
I'm not flipped out.
No, not you, but just other people. I don't know.
I know that. I mean, like, you know, it's just the idea of.
It's
is
cool.
It there?
It's just. I don't know.
You don't, because to me, finding out that there's a planet that's going to come around and flip our poles is not just, oh, that's cool. That's kind of crazy. Like, that's going to happen.
No, it's very crazy, but I mean, I don't know.
And that, you know, that's it should scare everybody. Or it should make people think. It makes me wonder if it's happened before.
That part is the most interesting to me too. Has it happened before?
Dave, what do you think about this?
In Canada, we don't have poles.
Now you perhaps, you know, and perhaps you don't believe any of that's going to happen at all. I mean, that's totally fine. I'm just this is my speculation of I'm just kind of just going into what certain people believe about it, and some of what I said is what they believe, and some of it was my intrigue of it. But perhaps it's not on your radar at all.
Theory. But Nibiru is it doesn't fit the categories that we're seeing right now and the evidence that we're seeing with this supposed mass that exists outside our solar system. So this 3,600 year cycle of Nibiru doesn't exist.
Now, other people think it's 20,000 years, and there's others who believe it's even crazier. It's like millions of years.
Okay, so well,
so I mean, we're all over the place. I mean, there's people who think it's every 20 million years. There's people that think it's every 20,000 years. The 3,600 years taken over for some reason.
See, it's funny because if we already knew, it happened last time it happened, it was 20,000 years. So anyone who says any different, it's wrong.
Yeah.
But we don't know one way or the other, right?
We don't.
So
I don't think
it goes
it's
to show you nobody fucking is right. Nobody knows shit until it's proven, until like it shows it. So like it's just weird to me.
Well, I just don't think that, like, the 36-year one never got me, because I know we have evidence on this earth of other things within 5,000 years ago. So you know, I really don't subscribe to that one. I mean, 20,000 years to me.
Well, does anybody agree? Does it seem like any group of people agree separately, like that on a set amount of years or anything at all? Like, or does everybody kind of have different facts to support this?
To support it. I mean, the main ones are, it's coming with this discovery now them finding this planet on the outside or whatever they think this is, that doesn't necessarily mean it is or it is Nibiru. It could mean that it's just, you know, another there could be just another one, and then there could be still Nibirus out there, or everyone's read it wrong, and the whole time this is what they were trying to tell us about, was that there was a planet on the outside. But it had nothing to do with it being a doomsday device or a pole shifter or the end of times or wormwood or whatever, you know, you call it from the Bible. So
Bullshit.
It's just a speculation of what could happen. It could be, it's the same thing as the chemtrails in the sky. Are these really chemtrails? Are they
Well, I've seen them coming out of the freaking planes as they're flying. So.
Well, is it just smoke? Many people think it's just smoke. It's just the smoke of the plane. I mean,
Well, it's like it was smoke isn't good. None of it's. Yeah, it's just. I guess people have to die in front of you for there to be caution or worry.
well, I mean, you know, what I mean, it's the same feeling.
Slow effects. Well, it's slow effects. It's just like anything. I mean,
Well,
I don't know.
so I took a photo yesterday that's unbelievable of the
Oh
chemtrails.
yeah, I saw that. It was like one of the ones you see on these chemtrail groups.
Yeah, what did I
It was a professional shot, you know.
I think I have the video of it. I don't think I put the video up, but I have video of these chemtrails in the right above.
I wonder
right above my house too. Right above.
Well, because I get them here now and again, but because I'm more in the open area and higher up, I don't know if I get them as bad. I'm wondering if it's worse over cities, right?
Oh, of course, yeah. The airports are there,
Yeah.
so I mean, if
Yeah.
they're coming out of the
Well,
planes.
I'm by I'm by an airport, sort of, but still don't get them that bad. I mean, it just depends on where you are, because I see certain states that post those pictures, and it seems some are just worse. I don't know. Like
Yeah, well, I mean,
Arizona and places. I don't know.
it depends how clear the sky is, the temperature, and it's the same thing. If you go outside in the wintertime and you breathe and you go, you see
Yeah.
that, it looks like you just smoked a cigarette.
True. Yeah.
It's the same temperature and atmosphere of the sky. I don't know what happened to Dave Rose. We lost Dave Rose. Dave was here, and he just
Damn, there's all this Nibiru crap.
I don't know what happened. We lost Dave. He just dropped out though. That's just very weird.
Yeah. Well, I see he's completely offline. Yeah.
He must have had a problem, and he's got something wrong with this. Oh, I know what happened. Someone's going to kill him. I mean, to be honest, I'm a little bit concerned about him because he was here, and
uncover
I mean, some of the
treasure.
things he said earlier about Tesla and some of the other stuff about the Nazi. I mean, you never know at this point if somebody just said that's it. Cut the wire. They cut the wire on Dave Rose because he's not here. It's not like him to just disappear. Very strange. I mean, unless it's 5 a.m, right?
He might have just dropped out. He might be like, Jesse's here. I've been carrying this shit.
No, I mean, he would have said. I mean, Dave would have said, I gotta
yeah,
go.
he might have had an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. What they say here? Chemtrails and our milk is chemically altered.
By
True.
the way, yeah, I mean the milk, no doubt. I mean, but let me get this. Let me get the drop. Let me get the Dropbox going so I can get this video to you guys. I also got that guy's address, so I'm gonna be able to find out. What the hell is going on?
Okay.
There's a guy who's got a haunting, or some kind of spirit or something in his house.
Oh, okay. It's interesting too, the spirit stuff. I haven't looked into a lot of that, but that energy interests me, as you know. So like,
Yeah.
These people that
To me,
go and do these.
it seems like more than energy to me. Although Dave Rose believes that the energy, you can interact with the energy the same way.
Yes, and I believe, and it interacts with you. And basically, I've heard of these people that go and do these ghost hunts and whatever they do. I don't know if they do extractions or if they're just whatever they're doing. I don't know what you call them. But they get sick. Some of them get like things like cancer. They get high levels of magnetism, all these little things, and it's from doing this job that they do. It's like they're constantly being affected by these energies, and it just goes to kind of show you like that's ghost energy. We're not even talking cell towers and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just blows your mind. Like energy is everything, and what is energy? It's all these little things around us, everything around us. So why wouldn't it affect you? Everything that you are is energy. Every time your heart pumps and beats, it's electrical.
Right.
So it's just I don't know. It seems everyone is so disconnected from that, and including myself. It's just I get it, but I guess it's so hard now in society to just no. I mean, if you want to eat healthy, nobody can afford it anyway. So. That's just weird. We wouldn't have things the way they were if everyone understood how much it was affecting.
He was ready to speak on this for hours, he said. He even mentioned, 4 hours. So I believe I am worried about Dave, bro. I mean, he even said before he went on.
I thought he didn't want to stay up late.
Well, he told me he was ready to go, but he also said he was, I'm not concerned. Other people would be concerned to say some of the stuff I'm going to say tonight, because they'll go missing, and that was the last thing. Something he mentioned to me, and it's just very concerning that he's not here. But here is, and we don't know where he is. I don't know what's happening here. But here is the trail. Here is the shot from the other day.
Been here a long time. I've never seen that many. I've never seen that many trails. That is a unusual amount.
Look at that.
That is really weird. That is really weird, guys. Something is wrong. What is going on?
I can't do it. Oh god.
I was very concerned the other day. I mean, I was
wow,
like,
that's a trip though.
You'll see it on the video in a second.
I've been here a long time. I've never seen that many.
As you can see,
you got some gnarly ones there. See, that's what I see in all the pictures where there's just like a barrage of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very strange. Just crisscrossing all over the place, left and right and up and down, and just go outside and breathe that in, see what happens.
Dude, the funny thing is I don't see that come from all planes. I only see certain planes doing that. Anyway.
Yeah.
At least from what I can tell. I don't know. I don't see it all the time. I don't really even know much about it. I believe that everything's bad for you. There's not. I mean, people. It doesn't kill you right away. Pass it, basically. So, of course, there's long-term effects. May not even affect you or your children, but your children's children will. And that's what we are, our children's children. We're the ones getting affected now. So it's time to get, people are going to start changing stuff. It's going to be crazy.
Right. Sounds like the beginning of a terrible point of view movie. That's funny.
POV movie?
Yeah. Someone wrote that in the chat. I'm really concerned about Dave.
It did remind me of like a movie, I swear, like a shitty movie.
Yeah. I don't know.
Something's gone wrong, guys.
And then like acid starts falling down from the sky, and then like the title comes up, and and then I drop the camera, and all you see is blood on the ground. And the movie is about trying to, I don't know. Where's Dave? This is really freaking me out.
I have no idea, man.
This is freaking me out, man. Like he was like, dude, he was game for this show tonight. He wanted to do this. He was gonna go forever. I mean, I was about to cut us off. We're about to end, to be honest. And I wanted to let you on for 20 minutes or so, and then, he's not here. I don't know. Well, not one word of I gotta go or guys, I gotta get out of here soon or anything
maybe he
like
knew
that.
He knew you were wrapping up.
No, he would have sent some kind of message to me at least, like, "Hey, I gotta go," or "I'm gonna get out of here." He doesn't do what Bailey does. Bailey will just bail out of nowhere.
Well, even I do that sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Dave usually will say something.
I just, I'm very, very concerned. But anyway, I don't know. There's something wrong. I'll tell you that. Something's not right. I gotta get a hold of Dave. We gotta find out what happened to Dave. All right. Well, so I hope to have Dave Rose on again. Definitely, we really only scratched the surface with him and with some of his knowledge and ideas. To be honest, we really didn't even come close to what we could have with him. So I look forward to more of him next week. And I do also want to announce that very special we should be having on soon. I'll take some phone calls before we go if you guys want to do phone calls.
That's not a bad idea.
No, I'll let get a couple of people get in here. 712, sorry I hung up on you, but I do have an announcement next week, or not next week, but on May 10th. I believe we're going to be joined by Jason Quitt and Bob Mitchell, authors of the book Forbidden Knowledge, which is going to be a lot of fun to have them on the show. 513.
Hey, what's going on, Jay? What's up, Jesse?
What's going on?
Not a whole lot, man. I just actually got home finally, and wanted to catch your guys' show, and then I heard Joe say, well, we're about to cut off or whatever, and I was like, shit, man, missed the whole fucking show, but I'll definitely try to go back and fucking catch everything again, man. Just had a crazy night, so.
Wow. All right, well, yeah, dude, anytime you come back and let us know. I mean, if there was anything you were thinking about saying, or you just wanted to...
Well, I actually had one thing on my mind since you guys started talking about doing this show and everything like that. I wanted to get Jesse's opinion on. Have you ever seen the movie The Fourth Kind?
No, I haven't.
Oh shit! I was gonna say they show a lot of quote unquote real live photos and real live videos from the alien abduction and stuff like that, and like little and they would do the what do they call it? It's not a seance, but it's meditation. That's what it is. They do like meditations, and they would pick up energies, and like you were talking about Jesse spirits and stuff like that, and they were capturing it on video. And I just wanted to see like how
is that movie? Is that the one that came out like I don't know how long ago, a few years back? Wasn't that?
Yeah, it came out.
Yeah.
Well, I think you really and yeah, we got to get Dave Rose to hear that too.
It's kind of a newer movie, right?
Yeah, it's a newer movie. They basically took like the story of it, but then like throughout the movie, they would show you the one clip on like side A, and then side B would be the actual clips that they're using from footage and stuff that they had found and stuff like that. And some of these videos are like crazy because like they're showing the movie, and then you look at it and you're like, wait, so that's the real photo, or that's the real like police scanner or whatever from the thing. And it's just really crazy. I just wanted to see if you thought that was like like realistic, or what your feelings on it was.
You got my interest at least. I mean, I haven't seen it. I'll have
now
to
go watch that now too.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Me and Dave and Jesse
wasn't into that
watch it.
stuff, but I actually really like the movie. Definitely go out and check that out, man.
You know what, Jesse? Me, you, and Dave should just watch it all in a Skype call. I'll put XSplit on, and we'll just all watch it. I'm not kidding. We'll do it. 513, man. Thank you for the call. Thank you guys for listening. And another big thing, like I said, May 10th, look for that. We're going to have a great guest on. We're going to get more guests on as well. I'm going to take your phone calls next week a little bit more also, and maybe get to some of the stuff we didn't quite get to with Dave, but we got to a lot of things, a lot of kind of,
fucking in the chat, it goes, VK goes, The Fourth Kind is not a real movie.
It's not real. We'll have to watch it anyway, whatever it is. A documentary?
I remember something coming out not too long ago called that.
Is it a documentary? I mean, I don't remember it, but well,
I don't know.
I'm open to checking it out. I'll look it up. We'll see what we can find on it. Guys, again, if you want to help support us, please not only subscribe to this channel, Final Frontier News, as we'll have news stories coming throughout the week. I'm putting those together, as well as this weekly podcast on the channel and on iTunes. So please, if you have iTunes, make sure you go onto your actual iTunes account, review our iTunes show, and listen to it and click it on there. It'll help get us up in the search ranks, and more people will find out about this show we have. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you to Dave Rose. I don't know what happened to Dave, and I honestly am very concerned about him, especially with what he told me before coming on the air tonight. But that being said, I'll let you guys know what happens if I hear from him. I just, hope it's all right, and he's not another one that they've got, because I have no idea what to do if that happens to my friend. Guys, thank you for listening. And
Justin will be happy.
Well, Justin will be happy if Dave is gone.
Goddamn, damn about time, shit.
The elite have him, and based off his knowledge.
Have you thought about that? Is Justin gonna be on this show anytime?
Yeah, I would love to have Justin on. He couldn't be on tonight, but he loved it. He listened. I know that. All right, guys. My name is Joe Cronin. This is Final Frontier News. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Dave. Thank you to everyone who listened. And we'll see you next week, same time, around about 10:30 or 11 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll see what happens.
listening to Final Frontier News.